All right, we're back for part 2. So now I'm gonna get into spoilers, guys. So please, everyone, if you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch part 1, my review, where it's no spoilers, and I recommended the movie. I recommend everyone go see the movie. This video here is, I'm gonna talk about details. I'm gonna get really nerdy, and we're gonna talk about it. All right, so, all right, they're gone. I'm going straight off of memory, no script. I've seen the movie twice and I want to see it again. The movie starts off with Gwen's backstory. And not gonna lie, I cried as soon as the movie started, man. I'm really emotional. So that was amazing. Not just that whole sequence about how Peter became the lizard and she became Spider-Man, but the song during that, Self-Love by Coi Leray, wow. Seriously, guys, I love that sequence there. And that was so crazy to see because I was such a fan of the first Spider-Verse movie that this movie built on so many details of that first movie. What happens next, I can't actually remember, but I guess she gets brought into the Spider-Verse because I thought it was really cool. The Hawk, I thought it was a manga. I thought it was 2D. It was 2D, but it was Renaissance. So he came from a really old time period. And that was, at first, I didn't actually care too much for that fight, but something I will say about this movie is seeing it a second time, once you've seen, like, you know what's gonna happen and you're looking out for more stuff, the movie is great a second time. I didn't actually care for the battle with the Hawk in the beginning, the first time I saw it, but I liked it better the second time, and I did like that art style. But all right, not to nitpick every detail about the movie, I did like that they brought her into the Spider-Verse. I did like that the Spider-Man's teamed up with her to save the day. She gets brought into the Spider-Verse, and then we get sent back to Miles. And wow, we get introduced to Spider-Woman and Spider-Man 2099. You know, we also get introduced to the character of Gwen's dad, Spider-Gwen's dad, and he was gonna arrest her, but then 2099 put him in a trap, and he got to see with his own eyes the Spider-Verse portal, which is kind of like something that's gonna happen in a second, later on in the movie. So she gets brought into the Spider-Verse, and we get introduced to 2099 and Spider-Woman. Great characters, we'll talk more about them. Then we see Miles and Brooklyn and New York, where I guess a lot of this movie doesn't actually take place, but we're gonna get into that. The first, or I guess the beginning of the movie does take place in an alternate universe's New York, and we go to the art museum. So that was a cool fight. And then we get brought to Brooklyn, where, okay, we meet the Spot. The Spot, you know, starts off as a villain of the week, starts off funny, lighthearted, and over the movie, he becomes a threat. I thought, you know, the opening scene, how we finally get to see Spider-Man, a lot of suspense, he finally pops out. Why do they call it an ATM machine? The M stands for machine. You're saying machine twice. And that was a great battle with the portals. I loved him sticking his hand in, trying to get the ATM. That was a great battle. And I love how he keeps coming back, the Spot. We get to see Miles' parents. My first watch, I thought that it was a little long. You know, the world building and the status quo, you know, Miles out of the suit with his parents. I thought there was a lot of that, but they do bounce between him being Spider-Man, and there was a moment where, okay, they were in a parent-teacher conference or something, and then he had to go and be Spider-Man. His dad had to go be a cop, and they actually meet up as Spider-Man, and he doesn't know Miles is Spider-Man. And that's a great scene of the movie. I want to take some of my family to see the movie, especially for that scene, and so they could see the story. We talked about how Gwen's dad saw a portal, but Miles' dad also sees a portal, but he doesn't jump through it in that sequence. And Miles' dad does hear the spot reveal to Miles how he became the spot, that it's actually all his fault. He's the reason, he's the one who made the spider that had the spider powers, and Miles threw a bagel at him in the first movie. So this is all stuff that you have to understand, guys. This is stuff that everybody remembered that in the first movie when he threw the bagel, and that connected this second movie to plots from the first movie, is what I've heard them say about it. So what happens next is, I don't remember what happens next, but we're gonna talk about it. I guess Gwen visits Miles' universe, right? And that's when you kind of see that she's up to something. And then Miles, you know, follows her to the Spiderverse. But before that, there is some funny lines. They talk about Hobie. They're like, oh, you're staying overnight? Who's Hobie? A couple months now. I thought that was hilarious innuendos. I thought it was so good. But then it gets to that point where Miles goes invisible and follows Miles, or Miles goes invisible and follows Gwen. And I thought that was a great scene, that after, you know, a long period of the movie starting, that, you know, he looks off and then he jumps into the portal. Now the reason why that the intro of this movie had to be slow and they gave us so much of this is because if you've seen the movie, you know why this is split up into two parts. So that's why they let this movie breathe. They gave us a big intro because we have a whole second half. So, all right, but before we get into any of that, so Miles goes into the portal. Miles goes into the portal, and I might be skipping some details, but we're gonna continue from here. He goes into the portal, and this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Big surprise. We go to Mumhattan. I might have pronounced it wrong. Mumbai Hatton. Mumhattan. It was great. It was great. And we see Spider-Man India. Pravarkar, something like that. And in front of me in the theaters, there was a bunch of guys who were so happy to see that. And it was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I liked that Spider-Man a lot. I thought he was great. And I also liked the other characters from his universe, the inspector, the girlfriend, and they saved the day. They saved the day. I like the colors in that part. They saved the day, man. It was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Let's skip past that because they're gonna get into, they go to the actual Spider-Verse world and they get to see more Spider-Man. Now, I'm not gonna lie, one of my gripes of the movie is a lot of the promotional material showed us this part of the movie, and I feel like it wasn't actually as many Spider-Mans as you would expect, but a lot of them were like, you know, duplicates in armor, or there was some cool Spider-Man, especially towards the end. There was a big armored one, but a lot of those characters are supposed to be like, oh, we're not gonna explain you their backstory, but you in your head, you're imagining them to have a cool backstory. So I'm okay with that. A lot of the cool characters, like I saw like Spider-Woman in the background and she looked cool. There were so many cool Spider-Mans in the background. A couple of them do have a cameo. There was even like the original cartoon Spider-Man that comes through in 2D. There was a cat Spider-Man. There was so many good cameos. Even Metro Boomin as Spider-Man. There were so many good Spider-Man. But they also talk about the Canon event, which is a big meme now that I'm actually enjoying. So Miles messed up the Canon event of Spider-Man India, and they're gonna mess up more canon events. But all right, here's my take on the movie. If all the other universes went down that way, then it only makes sense that their universe, things are gonna happen differently. So I don't know why some of them don't see that, but I heard somebody say, "Oh, out of all those Spider-Men, you're telling me that they're all just gonna follow Miguel?" But no, that's not what happened. Towards the end of the movie, they stop following Miguel. You know, Spider-Punk says, "I quit." But all right, I'm getting ahead of myself. The battle with Miguel, you know, Miles versus everyone. During my first viewing of the movie, I was like, "Oh my God, is this about to end? Is this the final battle?" But it actually kept going past the final battle. I thought it was really good. I love Spider-Man 99 with his red claws. I loved all the moments of him out of the suit. No puedo más, no puedo más. And, you know, Oscar Isaac did a great job of Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. That city, that was Nueva York, 2099. That was great to see after Manhattan, Nueva York. It brought everything together. In the beginning, he even had a great line of, "Don't get me started about that Doctor Strange and the Spider-Man back on Earth, whatever." But man, what a battle between all the Spider-Man and Miles. And there was that also the new Spider-Girl, Spider-Bite. So after the battle with Spider-Man 2099, Miles goes into one of the Spider-Verse teleporting machine. I think it was called the Go Home machine. And they explain throughout the movie that Miles was bit by a spider that wasn't from his universe. So when he got into the Go Home machine, it didn't send him to his universe. But we're not revealed that for a little bit, which is the best suspense you could have, that they don't reveal this to you for a little bit. He goes home, to what he thinks is his universe, and you, the viewer, think it's his universe. You would have to be really paying attention very closely to the room he's in. Only I noticed that on my second viewing. And he comes clean to his mom about Spider-Man. And the scene hits. Okay, you're not supposed to see through it. If you fall for it, the scene is great. He tells his mom he's Spider-Man, and his mom goes, "Who's Spider-Man?" So funny. Every time I've seen it, the theater laughs. One thing I'll say is earlier on in the movie, there's a line, "Oh, did you hear that new Spider-Man is Puerto Rican?" And Miles goes, "I think he's more Dominican." So if you were paying attention closely, you heard that line, but I think that line was probably so early on in the film that you don't catch it. And then it's only after that, a little bit after that, that it's revealed that they're in the wrong universe. And it only gets crazier from there because Miles is in a universe where the Prowler is still alive, or his uncle. And then it's revealed that his uncle isn't even the Prowler, because since he's in the wrong universe, there's got to be another Miles Morales. So we are revealed an evil Miles Morales. And that was awesome. That was awesome, the evil Miles Morales. And that is where the movie leaves off, is that he is trapped in another universe, but also they also reveal that Gwen and Peter and even Spider-Ham and Spider-Noir and the anime-inspired Spider-Man Kimmy, I probably said her name wrong, and Spider-Punk. All right, there's a few characters I need to talk about. Spider-Punk, best character in the movie besides 2099. And also, we finally get to see Peter B. Parker, and he has a kid now, Spider Baby, and it looks like Mary Jane. And we do see Mary Jane briefly towards the end of the movie, and it's great. Spider Baby has a little knitted mask, and it's awesome. It is awesome. Peter B. Parker was such an important character in the first movie. He kind of takes a back seat in this one. You don't see him till halfway through, but he's very much that mentor role that everybody loves and respects. You think he's on the bad side for a little bit, but he's very much not. And Spider-Punk, man, I might be leaving Spider-Punk out of this review, but he's the best character. You know, he's even cooler without a mask. He's just cool all the time. And the artwork that pops up, his portals, you know, you can only imagine his backstory. Everybody loves Spider-Punk. So that is my review of Spider-Verse. The only thing I will say is I don't know what the movie would be like to me if I didn't see the first one. Because I'm recommending that you see this movie in theaters while it's in theaters. But I don't know what it'd be like if you didn't actually have some of the context from the first movie. You might be searching for answers that aren't that deep. But what would I rate the movie? Is it better than the first one? Here's what I will say. I liked the heroic theme and the open and close story of the first one. In the second one, they pulled a Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. You know, it ends on a cliffhanger, just like Empire Strikes Back. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's cool. But is it better than the first one? I appreciate the tone of the first one. The second one, I think it is darker. And I honestly think it might even be better than the first one because the first one set a bar and this one raises it. I can't pick which one is better. That's why it might be like the Star Wars trilogy. They're all good because the first one sets the bar and this one just goes even darker. So, and one more plot point is that basically, you know, we have to save Miles' dad. Miles' dad is going to be captain. In all the other universes, the captains die, but we have to save his dad. He's trapped in another universe. Will he do it? We're going to have to wait a long time for these answers. But guys, let me know what you thought about this movie. Tell me what you would rate it. I give it a 9. You know, for me, if it's good, I give a lot of things an 8. And if I think not everyone can appreciate it, but I think it's really good still. Like if I think that there's some type of context, I might give it a 7. Or like if it's not everybody's taste, but I really enjoy it, I might give it a 7. If I think it's something legendary, but is it perfect? But it's not perfect, I give it a 9. You know what I mean? So I give a lot of things an 8. So I'll give it a 9. Is it a 10? You know, a 10 is really hard for me to give. I give it a 9 because the visuals, the story, I did have the context of the first one. You know, a lot of people, some people might think it's really controversial because the ending is a cliffhanger. So maybe that's why I'm not giving it a 10. Do I think it should have ended? No, because they didn't compromise by making the movie shorter. They didn't compromise by making the movie shorter. They made it 2 parts, and that's how you sell another movie. Very smart move, guys. That's my review. That's my Spider-Verse review. I hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2, guys. And whenever there's something important like this that I have to talk about, we're gonna talk about it. I had to find a time and a place, so we did it. Thank you guys so much. This has been GOCARLO, and I'll see you next time.